Look, I love every time Trump smokes a bunch of bad guys and breaks their stuff, he just, pow, posts an American flag. Like, whoop, Trump just posted a flag. Let me check who's dead and where the new parking lot is. It's like a FAFO victory lap, okay? And this was flawlessly executed, by the way. Also posting, we have completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But Iran, in really laughable way, tried to save face. They launched almost a dozen rockets at U.S. base in Qatar that were immediately intercepted. One got through and made something. But look, they notified Trump and Qatar ahead of time. I am betting, though, that the Ayatollah was like really relieved that they were intercepted, because Trump posted a few minutes ago, congratulations, world, it's time for peace. And that peace is going to be on our terms, because we have 11 aircraft carriers. Look, last week, I was in the camp of restraint until absolutely needed. Let me tell you, if Trump thought this was needed, it probably was needed. And as a military man, let me tell you, the worst thing in the world is for political winds to shift after you've taken action. So you know what? I wish we didn't have to do it, but now that we did, I'm in. I got you, Mr. President. I got your back. This is a guy who didn't want to do this in the first place. He gave deadlines. He pleaded with Iran to come to the table. And after receiving information and intel that Iran was trying to remove material from their nuclear site, Trump had to hit the go button. I think that was the real catalyst here. And if you remember, I said, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. And he did. He went basically to the ATM of our $1 trillion a year war bank and maxed out his debit card. He dropped 14 of the most powerful non-nuclear explosives and launched almost 3 dozen Tomahawk missiles. That is 500,000 pounds of ordnance in a single area. Do you have any idea how much that is? 500,000 pounds of explosives was not only what it took to destroy the compound, but it was what it took to tell Iran, your nuclear ambitions are over. And he made it pretty clear that we're going to do it again if needed. We don't want to, but if needed, we will. And to try to save face, as I just said, the Iranian parliament, they're all open arms. They actually took a vote. They're a joke, by the way. They don't do anything without the Ayatollah. But even after they voted to close the Strait of Hormuz, the global oil markets, they didn't care. But what about all the people who are experts? First, they were experts on COVID, then they were experts on Ukraine, then they were experts on democracy or whatever else. Well, those same internet experts, they swore. They told the world that oil would just jump and skyrocket if Trump bombed Iran. And weird, they were wrong again. In fact, they're wrong for the day. Big league. 4% down midday, 7.5% by closing, because the world was like, 500,000 pounds of bombs, bet they won't do it. But that attack also showed the world that if Iran tried to close the strait, that Trump's not bluffing anymore. And he'll probably sink the entire Iranian Navy if he has to. Also, China gets like 50% of their oil through that strait, so I doubt that they would be very happy about that either. They are in with Iran on certain things. But for the people who are like, oh, how could Trump do this? A lot of them cheered and applauded over the last 4 years last 4 administrations for saying that, all these people would do it, and then they didn't do it. Every president, vice president, secretary of state for the last, 30 years has said, oh, Iran can't get a nuke. Bill Clinton.
But I am convinced that instituting a trade embargo with Iran is the most effective way our nation can help to curb that nation's drive to acquire devastating weapons and its continued support for terrorism.
Well, he used sanctions, diplomacy, and other economic pressure, and Iran kept enriching uranium. Nothing to make them think he was serious. George Bush.
We will not tolerate the construction of a nuclear weapon. Iran will be dangerous if they have a nuclear weapon.
He did the same. He actually invaded Iraq under the guise of the very same WMDs he told Iran they couldn't have, but wouldn't cross the eastern border from Iraq into Iran to enforce it. And then sat idly by as Iran funded most of the war against our own troops, including me, in Iraq, but also nothing to make them think that he was serious other than some cyber attacks on their centrifuge facility. Go to Barack Obama.
As long as I'm president of the United States, Iran will not get a nuclear weapon.
He was about as serious about that as he was about drawing a red line in the sand in Syria. And then Assad used chemical weapons on his own people anyway, and Obama did absolutely nothing. He signed a stupid agreement that the Iranians clearly didn't adhere to, the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear deal, and then flew in pallets of cash to Iran in the middle of the night, along with easing $150 billion in sanctions. Like, what do you think they did with that money? Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State and running for president.
So here's my message to Iran's leaders. The United States will never allow you to acquire a nuclear weapon.
She was running the State Department that flew in the cash. Not to mention, she presided over the Rosatom deal that was turned over huge swath of American uranium mining to Russia, who, by the way, is very friendly with Iran. Remember, Iran gave them the drones to use against Ukraine. Then there's Joe Biden.
America's commitment to ensuring Iran never obtains a nuclear weapon.
This guy was the worst. He talked a big game, but I think did the least of anyone. He complained that Trump got us out of the nuclear Iran deal, but never got us back into anything. I mean, a lot of posture. Issued a maximum pressure sanctions campaign that was actually hardly any pressure at all. And it was during this presidency, during his presidency, Joe Biden, almost all reports unilaterally agree that Iran was months, maybe even weeks away from a nuclear weapon. And what did Trump do?
A spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated.
I'd also like to take a moment to point out that the Democrats at large were not briefed on this, and there were no leaks. Not one report, not one photo, not one tweet, not one statement prior to this happening. And those same Democrats that were excluded from this, and even some Republicans, boy, oh boy, if you doubted Pete Hegseth before, you probably shouldn't now. We carried out the single largest ordnance drop since Hiroshima and Nagasaki, flawlessly executed, hundreds of planes involved, from the 7 B-2s with mid-air refueling platforms, fighter jets, thousands of people, flight paths to not break other nations' airspaces, all stealth, 100% stealth. While people simultaneously thought Trump was just forward staging a bunch of other B-2 bombers in the South Pacific, and the world didn't even know. Until a mountain disappeared in Iran and we had already left the airspace. Of course, AOC and the others calling it, oh, it's impulsive. Really? What was impulsive about notifying Republican members of Congress, as constitutionally mandated, and executing the strike? She was just mad that she probably wasn't told about the timeline, which is probably why she and other Dems are now calling for Trump's impeachment, which I said last week that this was going to be the first thing they did. Did I not? I find it also hilarious considering some of the other people that were on board with the same philosophy with AOC were totally silent when Barack Obama dropped more than 26,000 bombs just in his last year in office, also without a war declared. Not to mention he drone struck 4 American citizens and killed them. Oops, our bad. Not one impeachment hearing, not one headline. None. It was all kept secret and buried by the liberal media. These libs are so unbelievable. The same libs wanted to put troops on the ground in Ukraine without a declaration of war and provide a blank check. They wanted to take away guns from people like me here in America and other citizens, but they wanted to arm the Ukrainian population with the same type of gun. These people in the last 2 years have gone from a trans flag to a Ukraine flag to a Palestinian flag, and now they're fiercely looking through Amazon to try to find an Iranian flag to stick it on their bumper. And while the rest of the non-radical Islamic world is taking a victory lap, the New York Times, and this is my daily reminder why I don't read them anymore, made sure to point out, saying, quote, in the briefing, Hegseth referred to B-2 pilots as our boys on those bombers, yet both men and women have been trained to fly. Courtesy of New York Times Pentagon reporter John thanks, John. Round of applause for you. This is why we shouldn't give out trophies for last place, because those kids grow up to work for the New York Times. I mean, real integral part of the story here, John. Appreciate it very much. I mean, really, solving world peace. But now Dems are gravely concerned about the Iranian sleeper cells here in America. Oh, really? Go on. I mean, this is incredible. First, anyone here want to take a stab at how those sleeper cells got to America in the first place? Anyone on the left? Hint? Well, they didn't come through like Newark or LAX. They came across Biden's wide open border, and now you're worried about them being in the country? What did you, for like the last 4 years, what did you, oh, you called us bigots. That's how it works for the last 4 years, right? Nobody could question that. And second, this should be a pretty short-lived campaign for them. In a country with 400 million firearms, I mean, good luck, Iran. You want to die for the cause? Okie dokie, we will oblige you. You guys better just take the L on this, or Tehran's going to be Lake America, because we're in it now. And whether or not I wanted to go is irrelevant. We're here now. And we need national unity until a peace deal is signed. We're in it. We're not going to be the ones backing out. You guys want to bet against Trump? Do it at your own risk and at your own peril. But you do have a valley where a mountain used to be.